YNW Melly has been fighting the same murder case for over 6 years now, and the situation just took a crazy turn. The cops want to take down Melly's lawyer, his homie's about to go to trial, and some people think Melly might not even make it to court alive. And today we're breaking it all down. YNW Melly got booked back in 2019 for allegedly killing his homies YNW Sack Chaser and Juvie, but his other homie Bortlen might get cooked at trial and end up going down for the murder instead. In October 2018, YNW Bortlen was the one who drove Sack Chaser and Juvie to the hospital after they had been shot. Bortlen pulled up to the hospital with Sack Chaser and Juvie bleeding out in the whip, and Bortlen ran inside to tell everyone that his homies needed help because they had been shot up in a drive-by. At first, everyone bought the story and thought somebody else had shot up the whip, but then the cops started asking questions that made Bortlen look sketchy.
I'm telling you the truth, man. I don't like. What do you want?
How do you make shell casings disappear?
I don't know. How can I tell you about a shell case and I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit, and you telling me you telling me about shit? I don't know.
The cops were pressing Bortlen about some shell casings that disappeared from where the shooting went down, and Bortlen had no idea how to answer the question. And when one of the detectives asked Bortlen straight up if he would tell them who the shooter was if he knew, Bortlen said no, because talking could get him killed.
And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay? You may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly.
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
Because I wouldn't want to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to be.
Okay. I respect that. I respect that.
Like, I don't, like, it's a lot that comes with that stuff, bro. Like, I can get killed.
Bortlen's story was that he was driving with Sack Chaser and Juvie when someone came up and started letting off shots. But when the cops looked at the whip, they knew from the jump that his story was capped. The shots that killed Sack Chaser and Juvie came from inside the car, and the blood splatters proved that they had been hit at close range. The cops immediately started looking at Bortlen as a suspect and started tracing his movement on the night that the murders went down. And that's when the case took a crazy turn. While the cops were looking at surveillance footage from before Sack Chaser and Juvie got killed, they spotted YNW Melly getting into the backseat of the whip where Sack Chaser and Juvie were murdered. That's how YNW Melly originally got booked for killing Sack Chaser and Juvie. But before we break down the crazy twists in the case, you gotta know what's going on with Bortlen's trial. YNW Melly's been in jail ever since the cops booked him for the double murder, but Bortlen got out on bond back in 2020. After Bortlen got out on bond, he dropped the track Been Through and rapped, "I was known to keep the tool. You gon' ride? Nigga, me too. You gon' slide? Nigga, me too. You did some time? Nigga, me too. And YNW is forever. I'm ready to slime out a nigga. I'm talking about triple cross a nigga. Niggas talking crazy, what? Okay, free Lil Melly, I said so. He'll be coming back to the riches." Getting out on bond for a double murder case was crazy, but in 2021, Bortlen got booked for violating it. Bortlen had an ankle monitor and got permission to leave his crib for work, but instead of going back home after it was over, Bortlen went to 3 different strip clubs and ended up getting his bond revoked. And in 2023, Bortlen and Melly got into even more drama when the cops charged them both with witness tampering. According to a witness's mom, Bortlen got in touch with YNW Melly's girlfriend and told her she would be driving a pink BMW if she was more loyal. Melly and Bortlen both got hit with witness tampering charges, and Bortlen got his bond revoked and was sent back to jail while he fought the case. During the first trial, Melly and Bortlen were fighting the same case, so when Melly's trial got pushed back until 2027, everyone thought Bortlen was going to be waiting until then too, but that's not how it's going down. The judge decided to split the cases up, and that's why Bortlen might get cooked before Melly even goes to court again. During the first trial, the prosecutors were saying that Bortlen was the driver and Melly was a shooter. According to the investigators who looked at the whip where Sack Chaser and Juvie died, the shots that killed them came from the back seat, and the surveillance cameras from the studio they were at before the murders showed YNW Melly getting into the back seat of the whip. Bortlen's lawyers tried to put the blame on Melly during the first trial, but they're not going to be able to do that again since Bortlen is fighting the case by himself now. What's crazy about the case is that the prosecutors and Bortlen's defense team both wanted to delay Bortlen's trial too after Melly's got pushed back, but the judge said that wasn't happening. The reason Melly's trial is taking so long is because the prosecutors and the defense are fighting about what evidence they're going to be able to use during the trial. We'll get to all of that in a second. But the biggest thing they're fighting over is a documentary about Melly that his team made. Melly told the cops he wasn't even at the scene where Sack Chaser and Juvie got killed, but the documentary that Melly's team made said that Melly was in the drive-by too. Melly's team obviously doesn't want the video to be used in the trial because it goes against Melly's story that he wasn't even there the night when the shooting went down. The video doesn't have anything to do with Bortlen though, because he already admitted he was driving the whip when Sack Chaser and Juvie got killed. Everyone thought Bortlen was just driving the whip, but if he gets convicted on the murder charges, then it could change the case for Melly. If the prosecutors cook Bortlen and he loses the trial, Melly's team might be able to use that and pin the whole situation on Bortlen. It's gonna be a while before Melly gets to try and beat his own case though. After the first trial ended with a mistrial, Melly was supposed to be back in court just a few months later. Then the prosecution and Melly's defense started fighting about evidence, and that's what made the trial get dragged out for years. Melly's team wanted to suppress evidence that the cops got from Melly's phones, GPS data, social media pages, and email.
Was motion to suppress evidence, search warrant requiring disclosure by the provider of an electronic communication service or the contents of the wire electronic systems for 180 days. Motion to suppress number 2 was everything they found on his Twitter account.
The detectives on the case basically went through Melly's entire phone history, even though it didn't have anything to do with the murders. And the judge stepped in and told the prosecutors they could only use the phone data from the night that Sack Chaser and Juvie got killed. The motions about evidence kept going back and forth, but Melly was still supposed to be in court by September 2025. The judge was sick of the trial getting delayed, and he told the prosecutors and defense straight up that the trial wasn't going to get pushed back again no matter what.
Press pause on all these motions. I'll press pause. I'm not going to move this trial date. This trial is going forward in September. So if these motions are heard next month, or they're heard in March, or they're heard in August, or they're heard contemporaneously during his trial, which again would not be the most ideal way to do things. If that's what ends up happening, that's what ends up happening. But the one thing I can tell you is not going to happen is someone that has been in custody for 2,160 days, his trial is not going to be delayed.
The judge wanted to push it through though, because Melly's been sitting in jail for years, but that's not how it went down. Melly's defense made another appeal to get the documentary banned from the trial, and that's the main thing holding it up right now. YNW Melly's supposed to get a trial in 2027, but there's been some crazy new drama in the case that could change everything again. In 2025, the news broke that Melly's lawyer, Raven Liberty, is being investigated for witness tampering. It's not clear what the cops think she actually did, because she hasn't been charged with anything yet, but the situation is already making waves in Melly's case. In June 2025, YNW Melly was denied bond again, and Melly's mom said he was pissed at his lawyers. According to Melly's mom, a famous lawyer named Drew Finling was gonna take the case instead, and that's exactly what happened after Melly fired Raven Liberty in August 2025. Raven Liberty had been on Melly's defense team for over 6 years, but having an allegedly crooked lawyer on your team isn't gonna help you in the courtroom. After she got fired, Raven Liberty said that the prosecutors had illegally recorded her and were breaking the law. Getting rid of your main lawyer is usually a bad sign for the case, but Melly scored a big win after he hired Drew Finling. Finling is working with Lil Durk on his murder for hire case right now, and he also defended Gucci Mane, Shaquille O'Neal, and even Donald Trump. Drew Finling taking the case was huge for Melly, but Melly also just lost a lawsuit against the jail he's locked up in. Melly was suing the jail and claimed that he was being kept in total isolation and had even been banned from meeting with his lawyers a few times. Melly's lawyer said he was being kept in really bad conditions that were worse than a third world country that has no protection for human decency. Melly was allegedly locked down in solitary confinement, and even the guards were told not to talk to him. But Melly's been having issues in jail ever since 2020 after he tried to get one of his lawyers and another inmate to sneak a handcuff key to him. That's when they put Melly in solitary, and he started having some crazy health problems too. Before he got locked up, Melly had permanent grills put on his teeth. You gotta take really good care of grills like that, or your teeth will start rotting out. And that's what happened to Melly. His jaw got infected, and he had a huge hole in his mouth. But the judge wouldn't let him out to get treatment because Melly had just tried to break out of jail. A lot of people think Melly should be free until the trial because it's been taking so long. By the time the second trial starts, Melly will have been locked up for over 8 years in jail without actually being convicted on anything. But Melly's team is also a big reason why the trials kept getting pushed back. The state wanted to make it a death penalty case, but Melly's team fought it and got the death penalty taken off the table. That was a big win for Melly, but then the prosecutors appealed again, and the courts decided that Melly could face a death penalty. You're supposed to have the right to a speedy trial so you don't end up spending years in jail before you get to court. And in 2022, Melly's team filed for a speedy trial so they could get the case moving. But then they took it back, and in 2023, Melly gave up his rights to a speedy trial because his lawyers said they needed more time to prepare. Melly's been locked up since 2019, and what's crazy about the situation is how he's still in the spotlight even though he's been in jail for so long. Everyone's paying attention when news breaks about the trial, and in 2024, Kendrick even referenced Melly while he was dissing Drake. Drake and Kendrick's beef took over the headlines, and on the track Euphoria, Kendrick raps, "Yeah, Cole and Aubrey know I'm selfish, the crown is heavy, I pray they my real friends, but if not, I'm YNW Melly." Getting a shout out from Kendrick will be big for most rappers, but YNW Melly doesn't want to be known as the dude who allegedly murdered his own homies. And after the track dropped, Melly told TMZ, "Kendrick Lamar is one of my favorite rappers, so I feel honored and appalled. I'm a household name, just for the wrong shit." It looked like Melly was gonna be cooked when he caught the double murder charges, but the delays could actually help him out. His defense team already got some evidence blocked from being used against him, and if they're able to keep the documentary out of the trial, then that's gonna be a huge win for the case. Plus, he's got Drew Filling working on the case too, and he's one of the best celebrity defense lawyers in the game. But Bortlen is heading to trial first, and that could change everything. If Bortlen beats the case and walks free, then it might mean that the prosecutors won't have enough evidence to cook Melly either. But if Bortlen goes down for the Sack Chaser and Juvie murders, Melly's chances in court won't be looking good. Maybe Melly's team will try to put everything on Bortlen if Bortlen gets convicted, but there's no telling if Melly would even let them do that to Bortlen. He allegedly already killed 2 of his homies though, and in this case, you never know what's gonna happen.